Ever feel like you're doing this teaching thing alone? You don't have to be. Shared teaching is all about sharing the workload through the power of collaboration and teamwork. Together, we'll walk through all the difficult parts of teaching and learn how to streamline our processes, fine-tune our time management, and develop a more manageable workload. If that sounds like a dream come true to you, then welcome to the Shared Teaching Podcast. Let's share in the teaching to make those dreams a reality. Now here's today's Shared Teaching. Hello and welcome back to the Shared Teaching Podcast. I'm your host, Susan, creator behind Shared Teaching, and you are listening to episode number 134, where we're going to talk today about establishing a classroom community in the first few days of school. Now, I don't know about you, but I started back last week for my teacher, staff days. What do we call them? Work days. And the students started back this week. So if you still have some time or you are just starting like me, it doesn't have to be the first few days of school. It could be the first few weeks. It's okay. So if you are feeling like you're behind because you've already started, don't worry. You can still establish a classroom community no matter what part of the school year you're in. You could even be towards the end of the school year, which is not ideal, but still you can do these activities and things that are going to create that classroom community that you really need. Establishing that strong classroom community is going to help students create a sense of belonging, and you're going to have a positive environment. From day one, it's going to set the tone for the entire year. So here's how you can do it. First thing you want to do is set clear expectations together. So establishing clear expectations is very similar to your rules, but instead of just listing a bunch of rules that your students should follow, you want to involve your students in creating what their ideal classroom would look like in terms of how people are behaving and treating each other. This is going to give them a sense of ownership and a sense of responsibility for maintaining the classroom environment. So here's an activity that you can try. And most of you might have already done this before. It's not a new idea out there. None of these today are very new ideas, but maybe they're things that you just haven't thought of in a while. So I like to do this every single year, no matter what grade level I'm teaching. I just find it's really helpful for the students. And if you find things not working, you can always revise it. Don't feel like what you set in the first few weeks of school has to stay all throughout the year. If it doesn't work, revise it. Okay, so you're going to gather your students in some way, maybe have them sit in a circle together. If you don't have room for that, just have them at their desks. That's okay too. And you're just going to ask them to think about what makes their classroom a good space to learn. And you're going to write down their ideas, and then you're going to guide them to develop a set of class expectations. I suggest keeping it fairly minimal. You don't want a huge long list, and a lot of things kind of fall under the same categories, so you'll start noticing some similarities after a while. And so maybe you're having students vote on their top 5 or something like that, and then you're going to display these very prominently. So you're going to write them down neatly on an anchor chart, and you're going to display them somewhere in the room as a constant reminder. Okay, next up is you want to build relationships through getting to know you activities. So relationships are the heart of a strong classroom community. You're going to spend time getting to know your students and helping them to get to know each other. This can help break the ice and encourage positive interactions, right? If they know each other, if they find things that they have in common, they're less likely to be mean to each other. Not always, but usually. So something you can do is a find someone who bingo type game where students just circulate around the room to find classmates that match the different prompts. So it might say has a pet or likes to play soccer, and they're finding somebody that has that characteristic or favorite hobby, and then they're writing their name in that square. This is going to get students talking to each other and discovering what those common interests are. Okay, next up, you want to create a safe and welcome environment. So a classroom should be a place where every student feels safe, respected, and valued. Remember, you never know what happens in their home life, so you want to make sure your classroom does the best it can to foster those things that you wish they have at home, whether they do or not. If they do, that's great. Then the classroom is just an extension of that. But if they don't have that calm, welcome environment at home, then you want school to be that place for them. You're going to start by creating this welcoming atmosphere. You're going to greet each student at the door with a smile and a warm welcome, and you're going to let them know that they are an important part of your classroom. So a way to do this is how you set up your class. You're going to arrange it in a way that feels inviting. Maybe you have a few colorful posters, some student artwork that they've created, a cozy reading nook, maybe a few pillows. That's going to help create that warm environment. Maybe you have a morning meeting area where the students gather every day and you have a morning meeting. It just really depends on you as a teacher and what kind of things you would enjoy and make your classroom feel welcome. A lot of teachers that I know bring like lamps, and that can help have a more homely atmosphere, a couple fake plants, a couple real plants, depending on your situation at the school. I want to discourage you from using any kind of scents because a lot of students have allergies, and we want to be mindful of that as well. Next up is encourage collaborative learning. This is one of my favorite parts and a great way to build a strong sense of classroom community is you're going to have activities that require teamwork and cooperation. This not only helps students build relationships, but it's going to reinforce the idea that everyone's contribution is valuable. And you really want to set those expectations and set them strongly because you don't want to have students working in groups and then vetoing each other's ideas or saying things like, well, that was stupid. Why did you say that? You want to make sure that students know that those kind of things and that kind of language is very unacceptable in your classroom when you're sharing ideas as a group. Okay, so one way you can kind of work together with your students and have them be collaborative thinkers is a group puzzle challenge where they work together to complete a puzzle. There's a lot of different ideas for this one. One of them is having just a puzzle with the numbers written on the back, and they just have to put the puzzle in order without looking at the picture. There's ones you can print out that are like the pictures of your class. You can get all kinds of creative with this idea. And this activity is going to emphasize teamwork and show students that they can achieve more together when they collaborate than when they work individually. Another way to do this is to introduce STEM activities. I think it's called Saving Harry. It's like a STEM activity where is it a gummy worm or something, and you're trying to save, maybe it's Harry, I don't know. But just search like saving plus STEM, and it hopefully will pop up in Google. But that is a oldie but a goodie. Many of your students might have already tried it before, so they might already know the trick on how to help him be saved. But there's a lot of first week of school activity STEM ideas similar to that are great to use, or the puzzle activity. Okay, next up is you want to model and teach empathy. If we don't have any empathy, how are we going to care for each other as a classroom community? So you really want to teach students how to understand and respect each other's feelings. You're going to use real life situations or stories to discuss how actions affect others and the importance of being kind and supportive. I know kindergarten probably does this, first grade probably does this, you're maybe now in second grade. You should still do it too, because students often need to hear the same message over and over before it really resonates. And sometimes it's just a matter of hearing it from the right teacher that makes them really truly make those connections. So one of my favorite ways to do this is to do a read aloud of The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig. It's a great story, and it leads to a fabulous discussion about inclusion and kindness. And afterwards, you can encourage students to share their thoughts on how they can make everyone feel included. You can talk a lot about the difference of why was he considered the invisible boy? What did you notice in the pictures? Have you ever felt that way? And you can start having students make those kind of connections, maybe do a quick little journaling activity to go with it. But it's a really great story if you haven't read it before, The Invisible Boy. Okay, next up is implementing classroom jobs. This is one of my favorites. It's really easy to do. I've talked about it before in the podcast. So if you're interested in more details, you can listen to episode number 104, where I was discussing streamlining jobs for students in the classroom. And I would like to encourage you to try a job crew instead of individual classroom jobs. Students are going to work together on a crew for all the tasks that you can delegate to them, such as paper passing. So I have a paper crew. Anything involving paper handling that is not confidential things, I have students take on, and the paper crew takes care of that. So it has a cute little name, right? So it's really easy for them to remember. Then I have a moving crew. Anything that involves moving out of the classroom, turning off the lights, getting the lunch bucket, they're on the move, right, when they do it. So they're the moving crew. So they work together, the kids that are assigned within this crew. And it's just a really great way to also have kind of like a little mini team within the classroom. And they're helping each other, reminding each other of the jobs. A lot of the jobs are 2 or 3 people jobs, so they're also working together that way too. So take a listen, episode 104, and you can learn all about how I do that. Last but not least, we want to make sure that we are celebrating successes together. We're going to celebrate the successes, big and small, that your class is going to achieve. You're going to recognize not only academic accomplishments, but things like acts of kindness and cooperation. Did somebody do something for somebody else? Did they pick up their pencil for them? Did they, I don't even know, drawing a blank right now. Did they remind them they didn't put their name on their paper when they turned it in? Anything like that, you're going to celebrate the student that helped the other student out. It can be as simple as giving out some kind of kindness award, maybe just having a group cheer when someone reaches a goal. I used to have a classroom poster in the back of my classroom where we checked off who had completed their iReady minutes. And so as a class, we celebrated when people had done that because it meant we were closer to our whole group goal of earning whatever prize it was for having all our minutes that we had established from the beginning, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It's late. First week of school, tired. All right. So another way you can do a shout out is maybe having a shout out wall where students can leave little positive notes about their classmates. Maybe it's a sticky note that they put up there, and then later that student can keep the sticky note. Maybe at the end of the week you take them off the wall and the student takes it home, or you just leave it up all year and they take it home at the end of the year. Maybe they're just signing something like an anchor chart on the wall. But it's just a fun way to acknowledge good deeds and build each other up. You really want to make sure that you are fostering that teamwork and collaboration and kindness, and just brainstorm ways, easy ways, that you can do that more in your classroom, and you'll really start to see a difference of how students are lifting each other up. So establishing the classroom community in the first few days of school is going to be really crucial for setting that stage, like I talked about in the very beginning, for a successful year. You want to focus on relationships, collaboration, and empathy, and then you can create the learning environment where every student feels valued and ready to thrive. The effort that you put into building this community will pay off in countless ways throughout the school year. So thank you so much for listening to this shorter episode of the Shared Teaching Podcast. And remember to stay tuned. Each Wednesday, I have a writing tip for you, and you don't want to miss out on those. Bye for now. If you've loved this show, then join me in sharing the teaching,
hitting that subscribe button,
and leaving us a review on
iTunes,
so we can be found by more teachers like you who are ready to start sharing the workload. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Find new episodes each week on sharedteaching.com. Thanks for listening to the Shared Teaching Podcast.